Hi everyone, welcome to the Donny Chain Gang Down in Cycling YouTube channel, streaming the legendary Donny Chain Gang live out across the internet, and we've got a great ride in store for you today. A great course to watch. Not so sure our riders will think it's the greatest course in the world to ride, because it isn't easy in any shape or form. In fact, it's pretty tough stuff everywhere. We're led once again by Russ Downing, and professional rider Russ is going to be hopefully on the end of a call any second now, and we'll get an update on where we're heading.
Hey up.
Now then, Russ, how are you?
I'm alright, mate, yeah.
I just watching you warming up here on screen, and just telling the viewers we've got a pretty tough course for them tonight. In fact, that's probably an understatement.
Yeah, what's the saying? It ain't easy, it's the Donny Chain Gang.
And that's the one. It ain't easy. It's the Yorkshire World Championship course. It's not going to get much tougher than that, is it?
And I'm sure I have ridden around it on a Brompton that I didn't know what I was absolutely doing on it with Matt Stevens. Yeah, it was tough, but joking apart, we've got it's been a while since we went round the Yorkshire course on the Donny Chain Gang. So yeah, I thought we'd head back there and see how it is.
Excellent. Well, we're going to find out. It's notorious for breaking the group up, particularly on the long ascent out of Harrogate, then in towards the big drop down Pot Bank, and coming back up the climb on the other side, which isn't even the main climb, is it? It's just a little taster before we go on to the Yorkshire KOM.
Yeah, it's that little ramp that then goes back down and then up to the roundabout. That's where you sort of lose people. People just get tailed off on the just on the crest, and then they're chasing all the way back home, really. So yeah, it should be good fun.
Yeah, at least they can't go off the edge of the bridge and into the ravine, which is what used to happen on the road races in real life. When I've raced on there, I've seen people disappear off around the hairpin turn and not make it back onto the bunch at all in any way, shape or form. In fact, not onto the bike.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we've had some good times around there, so it should be fun.
Definitely
I got distracted by some of the banter on screen.
It's very good. Well, this is what makes the Donny Chain Gang, isn't it? It's the banter on the screen. It's the banter on the Facebook page. And it's all of the action that's out there as well. And everybody enjoying getting, at some point, dropped, apart from the elite few at the end. And I think it's going to be a very elite few tonight.
Yeah, I saw someone earlier saying they were only coming on for the social side of it tonight. So that shows what we've made here. What are they going to do? They're just going to log on and then just not ride it. Well, like you, Matt.
Well, exactly. The day that I can actually ride this and commentate it, I will. But I'm good at multitasking, but that's definitely one multitasking too much for me. That's for sure.
Give us a shout, Matt, when you fancy it.
Should we do a swap?
I'll do the stream from my house, and try and do some commentary of some sort on it.
I'll tell you what we'll do, Russ. If there's ever a point at which you can be in the same studio, I'll put the bike in the studio and I'll ride it in the studio, and you can stand there and commentate. But only when we can both share a space that's about 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot, with limited amounts of air. It's not the best thing in the world in the current climate.
Sounds good fun. I've done some commentary before, but yeah, so I'd follow someone's lead for sure.
Definitely. So three laps today. Any clues on when it's going to go mad, or are you going to play it by ear? Is it definitely one of those today?
It's always one of those, I don't just say right at kilometre 15 to go. It's going to go. I try and read the ride stroke race at that. It's nearly a race at that point, but just to see, if we have to wait another minute for 5 or 6 more riders to get back on, we do that, and then we give them a breather, and then we go. So, it's not just a matter of it's set in stone when we go. So just read it, and I might call it when I'm actually off the back and just say go on.
Well, I think a few people are getting wise to the to when you called it sometimes. So we might have to be a little bit more sneaky these days, but we'll see. Listen, I'm going to let you get off because we're going to run through the map for people in the profiles before we get there and show people where the sprint line is as well, because of course there is actually a sprint on this circuit if people really fancy it.
Yeah, I might sneak one in. Like I say, it's like that. You know, if there's a decent group, or we're trying to please people back on, the sprints are sometimes a no-go. But we'll see. See how it plays.
Well, I'm looking forward to putting words to the action. So I'll let your legs do the talking for you, and I'll take another shot of the old Grand Tour coffee in before we get ready to go and hit the roads of Yorkshire.
Yeah, I could do with someone to give me one. Actually, I could might call the wife up and ask her to bring me one up, but that won't work.
You're a braver man than me doing that, right? I will catch you later on, Russ. Cheers, mate.
All right, mate. Catch you soon.
See you then. Bye. So great to hear from Russ there, who is now on your screen. So just getting himself warmed up on that red and black Pinarello. Pinarello, of course, one of the key sponsors of Russ, along with Halo Wheels, keeping the wheels spinning. OTE, and obviously fueled up with OTE, all ready to go and keep me fueled. And a massive thank you to them, to Wahoo, who of course he's sat on the Turbo Wahoo kicker at the moment, and of course Mallorca Cycling, which is where we're going to head for the Donny Chain Gang come May, as long as everything goes to plan. So let's bring you the details of where we're going, because that's absolutely critical. So first of all, the map of the course. This is the 2019 UCI World's Road Race Championship course in Harrogate. Course is a clockwise route, which is effectively a figure of 8, with both sections being run clockwise. We start at the orange beacon, the orange banner, over the top of the course, the standard start-finish line. We go along the very long straight section at the bottom. Now this is actually really bumpy, so you go up and over those bumps pretty much non-stop on the way up. There's a long drag. Effectively it's uphill for the first couple of K. We then take the sharp right and we drop down, and that is a really steep descent. It's on the left hand side of the map image there, and that goes down what is known as Pop Bank before coming up the climb on the other side up to where the Army Apprentice College is in the roundabout, which is where the beacon is now. Then we do a right hand turn, drop down into the valley, and then we go up the Yorkshire King of the Mountains climb. Not the biggest climb actually on circuit normally, but definitely a very tough one. We then drop back down again, take a sharp left, and then we've got to run into a sprint, and it's a sneaky sprint, you don't see it. So if you watch our blue beacon riding around, you take a sharp left here, into that zigzag and through that green section, that is the sprint, and it's a really, really fast sprint. We then come round the circuit to complete the lap. We've got a half a K leading, 3 laps at 13.8 kilometres, a total of 41.5 and a kilometre warm down. That gets us round, but the big kicker in this, 240 millimetres, no, 240 metres of climbing each lap. Total elevation 720 metres, and that translates as this when you put it into the wonderful graphics of Velo Viewer. Velo Viewer absolutely critical to pro teams on the Giro, if there's any pro teams left that don't get taken out with COVID, and of course key for riders on all stages and at the Worlds, where they were making sure that they knew exactly what they were going to be faced with, because this shows you the gradient. We start on the right hand side of the graphic, we come up over the first bump, drop down the steep blue section, that is the steepest descent. We then make our way up the climb, up to the roundabout and around the corner. So that takes us around the route. The question is, are we going to be able to get around there without leaving anybody? We then drop around from the roundabout at the top left hand corner down into the low point of the course. You can see that sharp drop, and then a climb up the Yorkshire Climb, and then drop onto the smaller upper loop, again taking clockwise on the way round. Right hand side of your screen, you can see what that looks like in a slightly exaggerated profile. The Velo View is a little bit closer to real life, and you can see the World Circuit 13.8k, the Yorkshire K of the KOM coming in on the way round. It's actually the second of the really big climbs on the way through, and then we go on to the Yorkshire Sprint before coming round to complete one lap. So that's what we're aiming to do, that's where we're aiming to get round. Let's see if all of our riders are able to do that. It's not going to be long before we see if they can get off from that start line in one group. And that's the big question, is everybody going to be able to make it? So let's see where all our riders are, let's see who is going to be there, and let's see if they are going to be able to hold it together to the end of the course. So let's see where They are out on course. We're going to drop in with our riders. Big bunch by the look of it. And the guys just making their way out and round. Russ here in the middle of the group. Actually going just through the middle of the straight by the look of it. And as you can see, the yellow beacon, this is Russ. And he is taking us through and around the course today. So let's drop in with the big screen. And let's bring you all of the action from the Downing Cycling and Donny Chain Gang. So here we are out on the course with the Downing Cycling Donny Chain Gang and our two beacons just down at the back of the group at the moment. Now, quick heads up for everybody. Please remember, guys, 100 riders is the maximum riders they can show you on the screen at any time in Zwift, and that will translate that you won't necessarily be able to see where the back or the front is depending on where you are. You'll see the nearest 100 riders. As such, that doesn't mean that the back is always the back. If you see the red beacon of Martin Bolt, it doesn't mean he is the last rider on the course. It means that he's at the time gap behind. There may well be riders behind him on the course. This is a tough course, and we'll see where everybody ends up. Our riders at the moment rolling round in a relatively steady bunch. You can see 3 or 4 riders wide at the moment. The riders ticking along, trying to get everybody together. Looks like we've got quite a number of our riders back in. Mr. Dowtree's in here from out of the saddle. Jess in this group. Pritchard's in here. Andy Bishop as always. James Allen back with us again. Good to have James back in. Of course, one of our standby leader. Watch this space when it comes to seeing who is the beacon. We're going to try and get a few more standby just as an emergency get out of jail. Russ isn't going anywhere, no, don't worry. I don't think Martin is as well. It's all about just having some more standbys, some more in there. We've been doing a little bit of work on the software side as well, but had a little distraction over the past weekend, and that distraction over the past weekend was being on the Mike live on the world feed, and that was out at the UCI 2020 Mountain Bike World Championships, and it was great to see some of our real top stars in action, and definitely a whirlwind to get out there and to get out and round. So the indication at the moment out on the course is it's going to be a bit of a whirlwind night. It's already pretty quick out there. We're going to take a little bit of a run up and down. Looks like the 2 beacons at the back just trying to keep the pressure off the front. Let's take a look up somewhere near the front. Let's just check everybody's taking it nice and steady. Let's jump in with one of our regulars, Gail Phillips. I don't think Gail necessarily right up at the front, but she's always there or thereabouts. So let's drop onto our drone cam and let's spin it out and just take a little bit of a look. Still bunching a little bit here, but as you can see, lots of riders on here, and our 2 beacons just being distanced backwards. Plenty of shouts coming out from the front to knock the pace off on this real long drag. You can see top right hand side of your screen, the map view is up there, and our riders climbing up that first long drag. They're going to go over the crest, and then it will start to drop down. So riders in the bunch being dropped at 3 watts per kilo, never a good sign. And oddly enough, generally the riders on the front who are hammering it generally aren't the ones who are there when it comes to the finish. So one of the problems that Russ and I always foresaw on the chain gang was that we were going to get big, and at that point, what do we do? Do we limit the numbers if people aren't able to hear the instructions, or if they can't see all the riders? Do we limit it to 100 riders? And then that way we know that everybody is getting view of everybody else. Let's have a little bit of a look and just see if everybody is hearing the words from the front. Looks like Mark Chamberlain on the front saying hitting at 1 watt per kilo, trying to keep that pressure off. Let's take a little bit of a look at the guys at the back who are going to be chasing their way on by the look of it. Let's drop into Martin Bolt. Now Martin is our beacon, but like we said, Martin shows regularly everywhere. Doesn't mean he is the last man on course, but I think at the moment Martin is just giving Mr. Dobson a little bit of a hand to get back on again. Doesn't look like anybody behind. And look at that on the front. As the moment it's gone over the top, it's one long line of riders. You can see just how strung out it is, and that is the reason it needs to be mapped up and pulled up as you come up towards each other over the top of the crest, because the moment it goes downhill it strings out. You can see just how strung out this group is now. As we head down, we go up in the sky, and you can just see the group splitting because of the pressure on there. It looks like half the gang up the road, half the gang together, and that is just how tough it is on the chain gang at the moment. The compressions and the extensions as it goes through. Just taking a little bit of a look, see 1 or 2 riders just being dropped back here, and it looks like Mr. Finn at nearly 8 watts per kilo to try and kick his way back on again. I think he was just waiting to let the group reform. Let's take a little bit of a look. Doesn't look like he's picking up too much, but here he comes now, starting to build some speed. Let's drop that camera back and let's see if Finn can get himself back onto the group at the back here. So Ryan Finn just distanced a little bit at the back here, and looks like he's just trying to make some ground on the riders. So here he is. This is Finn at the moment. Ryan just spinning those wheels round on a relatively light frame, but with a sort of decent deep rims at the moment. Not great benefit going up the hills, but definitely a benefit as you're going along the straights. So working hard at the moment. Jason Cox just being passed there by him. Jason just in a duo that are going to be working to get themselves back into the group. So Jason riding some slightly shallower rims tonight, so they're going to be of an advantage as you go up on the climbs, just picking the pace up. Jason no doubt looking to stay with the group as long as possible. All our riders think that, particularly when the pros come back out. Big kick here, 4.5 watts per kilo as he tries to make his way back onto the back of the beacon. Martin Bolt, but you can see the group at the moment well and truly split apart by the work being done by the guys on the front. We've got 2 riders, followed then by 3 chasing the bunch, which is one long line at the moment. Martin Bolt here just coming up to Cox here. I think he's going to give him a tow around. So off the back of the group we have currently about 5 to 6 riders, currently doing 3 to 4, some doing 5 watts per kilo to try and get back onto the group here. Mike Killingsworth clearly just trying to hold that group back. 12 seconds up the road for the leading group. They're already round this corner and are going to be heading now down towards the descent of Pot Bank. They're on this slight rise that comes up before it. It won't be long before they are diving down into that descent. Let's jump in with our red beacon. This is Martin Bolt. Martin's been our beacon pretty much since we've had a red beacon. Had a odd night off on the way through, but he's been pretty much on it from the word go. And as you can see, 14 seconds now to the majority of the group, and that's just because of this climb up here. Behind Martin, just trying to tow Mr. Cox up here, just towing Ryan back in. Toby Perry looks like he's the last rider in that group, but we're going to find that the gang are going to accelerate up as it goes over the top, and that is going to string out. If you watch the line on the screen, let's see if we can get a line which is going to show us it. It is going to extend, and you'll find that line will suddenly magically string out. Here you go, you can just see them picking up speed as they go off in front. We're with Martin Bolt. Let's jump in with a Martin's eye view here. Pretty much he's got Cox behind him, but as you can see that group are now pulling away. 33 seconds now, 34 seconds on the course as they snake their way through over the bridge at the bottom of the valley. Martin just up on the top, and no doubt everybody going to be kicking up. I don't think Martin is going to find this a particularly easy chase, because it looks like that group has carried a lot of momentum through these turns. Martin at the moment on his way down. It doesn't quite look like that in real life. The bridges at the side, actually there's a big drop on the right hand side than there is on the left hand side, and the cry goes out for the front to drop the pace back. So 40 seconds to the majority of the group. The back of the main group starting to spread out. So Cox chasing Bolt, Bolt chasing Bolton. Let's get up to Mr. Bolt here. So let's see how Stuart's doing. Stuart's onto this climb now, and just making his way up here. He's in front of the beacon by 16 seconds, and I think James Allen at about 9 seconds up the road at the moment. You can just see the back of the bunch. So this is James Allen, just tucked nicely on the back of the boat. She's got Jess Evans just in front, and looks like that's going to be Matlock as well behind. I just can't quite see Bob Bolt's 21 seconds down, but remember, we're not seeing the riders in between. The reason we're not seeing the riders in between, that's quite simply because there are 100 riders nearer to James. It's a great example. There are riders behind, but you just can't see them because Zwift will pick the 100 nearest riders to you. So Matlock at the moment just dropping back here at 0 watts per kilo. Now that could be a drop off the back. It could well be that he's lost power on there. So Bolton in between, just going to come past Matlock here. He's going to get onto the back of the group. Let's drop down to Martin Bolton. And as you can see, just magically, Mr. Cox appears at 6 seconds, just trying to close the back down. The leaders just heading up towards the top of the climb, and they're going to be up at the Army Apprentice College to take that right-hand turn. Let's see who we're going to be able to drop in with. Let's see if we can drop in with Tristan. So Tristan, one of the regulars, and Tristan will know this rather well, coming from Harrogate on home turf here. And Tristan riding strongly at the moment. Good to see him out on the course once again in the middle of this big pack of riders. And as you can see, just going to start into the descent. We're at -2 here on the way around the circuit. So we've come up the hill, and we've come around the roundabout. So it looks like Mr. Bell nicely tucks in here as well. Ryan Williams in this group, Chris Hesseltine, James is in here. He's nicely tucked in. Rich Orrell in with the group as well. Andy Bishop's here, the fat cyclist is here. Gareth Mason, looks like Lindley in this group as well. Craig Herring back on, managed to make it. Good to see Craig in with the group, and you can see they're all absolutely flying down here, touching 60 kilometers an hour at the moment on this big descent, up to 8% on this section of the course. As the group absolutely hurtles past here. You don't need to be doing many watts per kilo, but it does open the gaps up, and you can just see on the big map that the beacon in red is quite a long way behind. Just coming off the roundabout at the moment. So a maximum of 2.5 watts per kilo from Russ on the climb. Everybody gets that on the way through. That's not a message that you can avoid. As you see that, and just going to take a little bit of a look. I think the front of the group hopefully drop into that 2.5 watts per kilo as they come onto the climb. Just waiting for the screen to do a refresh, because at the moment that's not 2.5 watts per kilo, let's put it that way. Now in with Jez Elder. Jez just sitting in the middle of this group, and he's being passed here by riders, so clearly I'm not so sure that that's 2.5 watts per kilo being observed here. One or two riders are disappearing off up the road, taking a little bit of a look back from the beacon. It is a pretty good blob though, it has to be said. This might give the guys behind a little bit of a chance to come back in again. Let's take a little bit of a look. So we know plenty of people watch live as they are riding, and there is a time lag on the way through. We try and minimise that. We set the all of the adjustable settings, all the ones that we have control over, down to maximise live, so that you can actually watch it live. But that does mean there is still occasion between 3 and about 8 seconds delay between real life and you getting the signal on the way through. So good to see Ben from Mansfield is watching live. Great to see the message board being hit up there, and we'll be dropping in with Ben the moment we can find him in this massive group of riders. So remember guys, make sure you turn it on to live, turn the sound up. We try and give as many instructions over. 2.5 watts per kilos, please guys, try and keep that power down. We've got riders well off the back. This is a nice rehearsal, it's a nice recce for you of the Yorkshire climb. And as you can see, our riders all working their way up here. It is starting to string out here as they go over the right. It eases off. You can just see the percentage. You come over this roundabout, it eases. Now, when the hammer does go down, this is a really great place where it breaks the rhythm up, because you're working really hard against that 2% gradient, which isn't huge, but it's enough. It then drops to 0 and then kicks up again to 5% here, and then up to 6%. And that means that as this increases through 7%, you really feel it in your legs. It really is a really cruel profile when you are on the rivet, because you might be just hanging on at the 2% group, but when you go up over the top, the guys are going to be absolutely nailing it. and you will get spat out the back because you're not going to be able to hold it when it hits the 7 or 8%. So a quick shout out from Russ. I think Russ is going to be putting some numbers to that in a minute. It's probably going to be about 1.5 watts per kilo from Russ on the way through to keep that pressure down, to get the group back together again, to get the majority of the riders in. Remember, we already were losing riders. We went in and through. Looks like Altaf Hussain in this group as well. You can see Altaf here. Hawkins from Bolsover and Districts here. Looks like Rob Wimble, the man with the worst taste in skin suits ever, has made it onto the chain gang. I have got to find Wimble to see what he's chosen. I take the mickey out of his skin suits because he rides rather well, and I know he'd give me a good kicking if we were out on the bike. But we will try and get hold and see where he is. Looks like Jason Sutcliffe back on the ride. Lone Riders back. Rocket Cooney's in the group. Mike Killingsworth's in here. Just taking a little bit of a check. Yeah, Collins in here. Richard Shinwell back in again. The legend that is Mr. Shinwell. Maddie Smith riding strongly, and Taylor's with us. Looks like Lake is coming in from Switzerland here. So let's have a little bit of a check. And we'll drop across to our Swiss rider first of all. So here we go. Our Swiss rider now jumped in clearly, regularly out on the bike here. Just taking a little look. Nice Swiss mountains in the back of your profile. Definitely, that is for sure. So Lakers in here and riding well at the moment. Ruby Miller joining us once again from Wales. One of our faster women riders. We know Ruby definitely one of the quickest riders out there, and always strong on or off road. George Cooper back with us. George in his own little box at the end of the last ride apparently. Doesn't need to be a big box for George, but he was riding really well at the No Nonsense Cross, and you can just see the guys are absolutely strung out in bunches. It is literally 3s and 4s already on the way through. Meanwhile, Martin Bolt on his way up the climb here, so we just dropped in with Martin, and looks like Fielding in front at 1 minute and 7. He's got the group. As you can see, these groups are all spread out again. So we've got Bolt here at just under 1 minute. Then it's going to be Fielding, who's chasing on hard down here. Then we've got Bolton in front, 10 seconds in front. Then we're going to go to Crawley. He's 17 seconds in front as well. You can see as we're making our way up through here. Mr. Head was working hard at the moment. Absolutely smashing the group apart is what they're doing. Russ, that takes it really easy to describe. Cannonball Sharp is in here. Looks like Flanders, Fraser, Chris Heseltine, James is here. Bennett's in this group as well. Let's take a little bit of a look further up the road. Let's have a look. Rob Copeland, I think, just keeping the power down. This is a man who we know who can take victory on a course like this. He can sprint and he's incredibly light as well. I want to say a massive thank you if you enjoyed the coverage on the World Championships. One of the men you do need to thank is Rob, because without Rob's assistance I wouldn't have been there. So a massive thank you, Rob, and all of the team who managed to do some of the logistics in what is a pretty tricky circumstances. Now up at the front on the top, just stringing out a little bit here. Just looks like Alan Dunker's here from the Jackrabbit team. Good to see Alan coming back in again, somebody who's always to be reckoned with. Just having a look at Porters in this group as well. So this is just starting to close back up again. You can just see if we jump out here, this group just coming in. This is the run to go through. Rob saying that, no worries, Matt, a pleasure. It's nice to hear. You don't want to say that. I might call on you again if I ever get the call from the UCI, but we will see. Right, ease up on the front, guys. We've still got a number of riders out the back. Remember, if you're on the front, it's 100 riders that you can see, and that means that you're not going to see where the back is. Martin Bolt at the moment on that climb, and it looks like Bolton, Fielding, Crawley, Shaw, Tarry, sorry, not on there. So let's have a little look. Looks like Tarry at the moment, one of our newer riders, just being distanced here. So not sure our chain gang being the kindest to Kaz at the moment. Kaz with some very nice wheels in there. Those are lightweights, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, they are the lightest wheels, nice and aero as well. So looks good. Stuart Bolton just keeping dropping out, so he's losing time everywhere because of that. Behind Tarry, I think Crawley is that. Let's have a little look behind. Let's see how far that gap is. Crawley's at about 15 seconds. Copeland is at 28 seconds up the road. And Kaz from Sitwell CC just having to chase here. Actually went past the Sitwell Arms today. Just down on the edge of Renishaw Hall. But Sitwell's, of course, a very famous family responsible for a lot of the iron that went and founded the empire. There you are. Today's history lesson for you about the family. So let's jump up the screen a little bit. The Cannonball on their own here. So let's take a little bit of a look. Cannonball on a nice aero bike, deep rims here. So let's have a look. Just chasing this group. Let's see if he can close this gap down. So the Cannonball chasing hard here. And Martin Bolt, our Red Beacon, is 2 minutes 56 behind. There's a number of riders behind him. In front, the group's at the very front, so this is how far the group is in front. He's got 8 seconds to Pritchard, who you can see on the screen, and I think 100 riders takes us to Rob Copeland. Let's jump in with Rob on the way through. Famous last words. So in with Rob at the moment, and Rob's nearly at the front, so that's not too far off. And just going to take a little bit of a look through this group. So looks like all the big boys out to play here. Looks like Toby Perry is in here. Definitely out to play. The guys from 1080 are here. Got my Oakley t-shirt on as well. And actually had to put the Oakley shades on very briefly out at the in Leo Gang. There was a little bit of sun out and about. Now let's jump in. Let's see if we can get in with Mr. Wimble. I just missed him. I will find him. He is there. Let's see what sartorial elegance he's got. Now, talking of hitters, Ryan Williams. Quick rider. A man to watch for the future in the pro ranks. That is for sure. Ryan, one of our youngest riders. And looking good at the moment in that Sigma Sport kit. Just rolling around the front of the group there as we just jump up. Ross just coming up to the front, rolling around with George Cooper. George, one of our lighter, younger riders. He does have to put out more watts per kilo to stay with everybody. And that's sometimes who gets everything very mixed up, because some of our younger ones are going to be putting out a lot more watts per kilo. So as our riders come up towards the big gantry, this is where the finish is going to be. This is lap number 1 complete, and it's going to be 2 more laps to go coming underneath here. So this is the UCI finish line for the 2019 Road Champs. A lot of you will recognise it from TV. Plenty of you, I'm sure, were there, and lots of people will have seen it on the way through. It's an uphill sprint on the way through, just to make life difficult, but it is a Tuesday. Come on, guys, we never do easy rides on Tuesdays. Thursdays it's a little flatter, a little bit easier, more one for the sprinters. Well, the Fat Cyclist said, saying yay to the fact it goes uphill to the finish. That's because he is one of our slightly more gravitationally challenged riders out there, one of the big groups. Now, looks like everybody just about managing to settle down. They've got the frustrations of the day out of their legs. And they're spinning it round here. We're just taking a little bit of a look back down this group. Everybody is looking pretty smooth in there. Nobody ripping it up too much. Thanks, guys. That is exactly what we want to see. We don't want to see people disappearing out the back too quickly on the way through. Looks like Luby's still in this group as well. Just taking a little look. So in amongst our women, it looks to me like Gail Phillips is in here. Ruby Miller is in the group. I've seen Jay Leo in here. So looks like Julie's in here. I'm just taking another look through the rest of the group. We've got Jess Evans in the group as well for the women. It's going to be tough today. Looks like Brian Smith has made it in with us. Good to see Brian back out and riding the chain gang after commentary duties as well, no doubt. Sam Emsley's in here. Looks like Gary from Muscle Mechanics in here. Noah Dallison, good to see you back, Noah. Noah back in with this group and just working his way through the group, no doubt. So Noah, another of our really young riders, and a rider really just starting to learn his craft out on the bike. Looks like Barry Kipling back in again. Barry went out in action on the cross over the weekend. Andy Verrill is on the chain gang. And it looks like Andy back joining us once again, another regular and a real mainstay of cycling over the years. So good to have Andy with us. Johnny Two Dogs is back in, Johnny Lightfoot. Been doing some fantastic paint jobs on the bikes, mate. I do keep an eye on what everybody gets up to through the week when I'm not busy trying to watch all the footage of cycling I can. And always good to catch up with people, see what they get up to. And Mr. Lightfoot very good with a spray gun now. Front group starting to bunch back up again. Let's take a little bit of a look behind. Porter and Whitehead rolling around the back. We're going to drop back to Martin Bolt because we know that sandwiched in between are a number of riders here. So it's like Danson, Whitehead, Porter, Leo. Probably the first of our riders distance, so let's go up from Martin Bolt for the moment. So Mr. Bolton, Stuart having a bad time with dropouts in power and losing a little bit of time because of that. Just in front, it's 16 seconds up the road. You've got to think Martin Bolt at 3 seconds behind. He's got to be in sight, surely. Where is he? There he is. So Martin Bolt could close down on Bolton here. That becomes 2. And then let's see if they could close the gap down. Can they close down on Fielding here? So Fielding currently is 16 seconds upon Bolton. So I think Fielding here could see the group behind come towards. Simon riding took nice and low down there. 200 watts out at the moment. And if I was Simon, I think I'll be sitting up and waiting. Then in front, we've got Kaz Terry from Sitwell. Now in the group, I think Kaz has probably got a view of the beacon. Yet just about make it out in the distance. The Cannonball is at 12 seconds in front. The beacon group is 1 minute in front. Behind, though, we've got a group at about 17, 18 seconds. And they might close that gap down, but no sign of them behind Kaz at the moment, who is riding smoothly up this 3% drag here. Now in front of Kaz, the Cannonball is at 10 seconds, and the Cannonball being spat out from the group and just being distanced by that front group, but going to get some company. You've got Tarry coming up, you've got Bolt who's coming up in a group behind, and that's what we always say. If you do get distance from the front group, get yourselves in another group. There's loads of people tonight who are going to be feeling the pressure, feeling the pace. Become a blob behind, become a group. Looks like Lakers is at 8 seconds in front. Looks like Leo in front as well. So Julie just in front there. Let's see how much gap. No, that's definitely got to be closable. Depends on how much Leo pushes on. So Julie just currently 18 seconds in front of Edwards. Edwards 19 seconds now. So it looks like Edwards just dropping back a little bit. So Julie's going to have company, I think, with Molly here, who's dropped out. That was like a power dropout to me, being distanced there. So let's see how they go now. Vin Donahue from Barnsley. Vin just feeling the pressure of this climb here. And Vin in his traditional light blue kit, matching that Barnsley kit, has Noah Dallinson in front of him at about 10 seconds. But Noah has got the power to get onto the group on the hill. The problem is he's a really lightweight rider, and Noah is going to have a hard time every time it goes downhill. He's going to have to put the pressure on the uphill to close that gap down. He can see the beacon, and if anybody, he could close down. It looks like 6 seconds to a group of 5 riders in front. You just see them on the rise in front. So let's take a look, jump up, and let's take a little bit of a look who is in that group here. This is a nice little group that could well start to work together here. So just dealing with Wangers at the moment. He's got TW with him as well. So TW's in that duo at the moment. They don't want to get distance just here. They could close this gap down as a group of 5 behind them. Dallinson is just down the road. As we said earlier on, you can't see Dallinson, and that's quite simply because there's more than 100 riders, and that is what makes a difference. Chris from Chris Hasseltine James currently having a can't be bothered day, mate. Don't forget we've got youngsters in here, sir. So Chris, consider your wrist slapped, not just because you enjoy it. So Chris Heseltine, James here from the Alliance MTB, one of our coaches who comes on the ride, a key man, just got an order going in as well. So Chris just trying to work there with Sam Emsley, and Emsley from Cryogen alongside Chris Heseltine and James. So just in front of them, I think it is going to be Simon Bennett. So Bennett just in front here, and just taking a look at it is pretty packed up at the front. So Bennett coming through. Looks like Bell just getting past there. He's going to try and jump on this group. Rodney needs to jump on this as well. Porter's in this group just kicking up. You know, just watch the Porter just put the power on. Bell putting the power on as well. And Bennett here working really hard to get back across to the main group as it comes round. It does climb up as you come around this turn, although the percentages drop to 1, it won't be long. And the group, if you're going to be with this group, you've got to be on as it goes over the top here. This is where it's critical to stay with the group. We're going to just watch this group chase on. Now is the time to push, guys. You've really got to hammer into this because you are going to get dropped on the descent. You've got to make the effort now. It's worth every single watts, guys. This is where it counts. So let's see who is going to be struggling here. Just going to try and drop in with everybody on the way through here. I think it could be Sir Rodney, who's having a the job of the back. I always love it when people's names are there encouraging me to say something I shouldn't on the mic. So watching Rodney at the moment working hard here. Looks like Porter just behind. This is the time to push on over the top once you get into that descent. And it's not going to make too much difference. That's the time then to ease off, to not put too much pressure on. Get in with the group. Go down the hill. Every watt counts on the uphill if you're off the back, guys. That's where you've got to hammer. So let's see how Porter and Rodney get on here. Can they close this gap back down again? They're in the danger zone. It's in the drop. They're not going to close it on the descent here. It's the moment it goes up the hill here. Now watching Porter putting this kick in here. This is where you can make the gap back. You don't want to let it go. It's 12 seconds to the big bunch. And I think that gap is going to hurtle down. This 4 seconds to the back now. You can see just how fast coming into this 2 just in front of them. So at the moment they're going to close that gap down, but they can't afford to let the gaps go. They've got to keep pushing on the uphill section here because the moment we hit that roundabout, it's going to go round the corner. So it is Porter, Rodney. It looks to me like it is going to be Whitehead just in front here. Let's jump in with Whitehead. So we're going to have a regroup after the sprint. Hopefully we'll be able to get these guys back in. Portner, Rodney, Whitehead, Clay in this group. They're 4 seconds down on Stanleyland. Stanleyland hovering 4 seconds off the back of the group. Maddie Smith in danger at the moment of being distanced off the back of the group. She's at 2 seconds and Smith needs to push on here. Come on, Maddie. Get those legs going. Show some Terminator determination. So Maddie, one of the hard-working officials of the Notts and Derby, as well as being, of course, a national champion and great off-road rider, just pushing on to get into this group. Needs to push through the group, though, because up in front you will see we're going to come towards where the squirrel is. That is at the turn, and that's your indication you need to do the right-hand turn. If there are any gaps from front to back on this right-hand turn, that gap will open by the time you hit the Yorkshire climb. It's game over. You've got to keep those gaps closed down. Don't let the gaps go. Andy Verrill in this group here, and Verrill working hard. He needs to try and push on here. There's going to be gaps opening up at the back of the bunch. If that gap goes, you will not get back on again. Clay's really trying to hammer into this gap. Russ can see the danger. He's just dropped into the middle here. He's moved up again. So behind Russ, it looks like Stanleyland's seeing the danger. He's moving up. Neil's moving up. Maddie Smith has closed that gap down. People being distanced though at the back. They've got to push right over the top. Don't let go of anything. So let's see how they go. So keep it on, pushing on. Got to keep pushing over the top, guys. This is where it counts. So remember, only 100 riders on the screen. You can't see the guys at the back. The guys at the back can't see you at the front. It's that simple. It's 100 nearest riders to you. So if there's a big bunch of 100, it doesn't do equal distances front and back. It's all about where those riders are. Now Andy Verrill working to get this group back together. Looks like Matty Smith pushing on at 4 watts per kilo, just in front of Andy Verrill, just currently sitting at 3.5 watts per kilo. Ted, another of our regulars. You can see a regular Zwift user you've got to be to do the 50,000 feet to get you up to the height of getting a concept bike. He's with this little group behind, and I think to get in this, come on Andy, get on here. Edwards just pushing hard right in this group, come round the corner. And you see a super tuck coming into play here, and looks to me like that's Alan Duncan from Team Jackrabbit, who is just pushed on there to try and get himself that little bit of a tuck in there. It disappears the moment that you hit less steep gradient than -2%. You can just see up in front as the riders go in through onto the climb. Hopefully the guys at the front are going to be saving their legs. They're going to try and close down. Who's sandwiched in between the groups here? Looks like Archibald is in here. So Archibald now pushing on to go further up through the group. David Archibald looking very smooth. 167 beats, 168 beats per minute, 83, 85 revs, 300 watts coming out here. That's a big power output on the way up. And just keeping an eye on the back of this group, it looks reasonably close together. Remember, of course, we are coming up to the top. We're going to drop down, we're going to do the sharp left, and then it's a slight drag as we wind in towards the sprint now. One or two riders starting to be distance, the gaps are starting to open. It levels, remember, here at this mini roundabout going up and onwards. Sorry, next mini roundabout levels off, coming in and through. The white one there doesn't level, it's the next one on. You'll find the mini roundabout, it levels off, and the gaps will open if you are not up in the bunch. And this is where bunched up rather than strung out pays off, because there's less chance that there is a gap. So here on the Downhill Cycling Donny Chain Gang, coming out to you on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel. We're a lap and a half into 3 laps of the 2019 World Circuit. The 2015 one was, of course, Richmond. All ingrained in my mind somewhere. Clearly need more Grand Tour coffee. So the guys pushing at the back are currently having to kick out between 4 and 5 watts per kilo to try and stay with the group at the front. So let's just see how the guys are having to work. Look at this group here. It is a big group of riders. You look in front, and the guys on the front already are pushing it on, but the guys at the back here, they're having to do a massive watts per kilo to stay in the group, be in distance with the guys on the front. So one of the things we haven't yet had to implement is putting a wall at the front and back of the group. Something we've always resisted. There have been calls to do it, but we've always resisted it on the chain gang, and that is quite simply because what we want to do is leave the guys and girls to rip it up at the front when it comes to time to go. At the moment, the go has not come, and that means that anybody who's ripping it up at the moment is really going to make life hard for everybody else. We will impose the barriers either way round. Everybody already getting a fastest lap on the way around that time round in this big group. Remember, the bigger the group, the more that you will be able to benefit of the group and the fastest you go. So there are some reasons why riders won't know whether it is quick or not, and that is quite simple because they haven't got their messenger on. Some people will have the messenger turned off because it has a language filter on there, and if you filter the language, and our riders are using it, but that's going to be no good, because you will find that the riders who are in there who have that language filter turned off, the more that you use the language, the less they're going to be able to see it, unless they see all the messages. So you do need to be careful, guys, about what you say on there. Sometimes the guys can't see the messages as well because there's a dropout. There may be that they can't see anybody else as well. A lot of the dropouts caused by how good your internet connection is and the width and the bandwidth that you've got coming in. Great analogy is you will find yourselves having trouble if you're piping in might be fast, but it might only be bringing the signal in at the speed of a hose pipe coming through. If you've got a water main, it's going just as quick, but there's a lot more volume, so you need to be on a good signal. Not just about the speed, it's about the volume. So let's have a regroup, guys. Please, a regroup up at the front. Altaf knows score. He will no doubt be backing it off, trying to get everybody back together. Looks like Callaway's in here. Good to see Liam out and riding once again. So Liam in the group there, just alongside James Allen. Looks like Mr. Lindley's got his Yorkshire cap on. Very good, sir. Always good to see. Ian Legg in this group, the Fat Cyclist in this group as well, and looks like a few people just starting to pop up towards the front. It's a sneaky little sprint banner that comes up round this corner. It's only a couple of corners away. If we go to the 3D view, you see there's a left and a right hand turn, but looks like most people choosing to not go down that sprint. If you are doing it, key to doing a fast sprint or getting a fast time on Zwift is to go from the back to the front. So that's immaterial whether it is a sprint coming through, as you see Mr. Callaway doing now, sprinting from the back towards the front, and he's going to get a good time, I'm sure. Liam Callaway going to move right up through the group. Second place there for Callaway, fourth place at the moment. So you can see here the riders coming in and through, and I think that is Jess Evans, the fastest woman, getting a good quick time there as well. Key is, as you saw, go from the back to the front. Now it works in the sprint, it also works on the hills. When the Attack the Tour, some of you will have heard the story on the Attack the Tour, I sat on the line and I waited for 2 minutes when we went up to the top of Von Top, and the way that works is you sit on the line, you let everybody go. There were 6,000 people in front of me, but it's about the time you get up there, not the time that it takes you to get up from start to finish. It's about the Von Top climb, it's about where you finish in terms of time, not where you finish in position. So starting 6,000 people back meant I had 6,000 sets of drafting I could use. Had I been on the front group and smashed to the front in the first 10k, by the time I hit the climb I would have had drafting from maybe a few hundred, not 6,000, and that's how it works. Having a big group, keep the group together, work the group so that the group stays together, help the guys at the back. You then get a bigger group, you get more drafts, you get more personal best times, you get better sprint times, you get further up the leaderboards, and you will put in the best time. But you've got to be smart, you've got to keep that group together. And that's critical as well when you're out and racing. So this is great practice for racing on Zwift. So let's drop in with some more of our riders here in with Jury. I'm going to drop in with the men from the Mansfield Road Club, hopefully. In with Ben. So here we go. Let's zoom in. This is Ben at the moment, just tucked in here, and near Mr. Oxenham and near George Cooper, I think, just on the side there. So riding nice and strongly, and just going to keep an eye on what's happening on the front here. I'm not quite sure why we're seeing 4 watts per kilo from people. Let's take a little bit of a look. Is it one of our lighter riders on the front here? I think they must be very light to be kicking out 6 watts per kilo and going backwards. They've got to be one of our really light riders, one of our younger riders generally. So let's have a little look. John Hind here. John is one of the riders who is taking part in the hill climb up Carr Lane near Polsterton. Lots of you will know that if you've been out and around the area just by the M1, just heading across towards Clumber, and as you'll know, there's a regular hill climbs on there. John taking a silver medal in the championships, and not needing to prove anything up the top of this climb because he did it all out there in the proper race. Okay, let's take a little bit of a look behind. So Russ just rolling around with that group at the back, just keeping it nice and steady. Looks like Jess has got the sprint jersey and the lap jersey, but Jess not feeling the need to hammer on the front on the way in. Just taking a look up at the front of the group. Looks like the message might be getting through to most people. I think might need another Russ message out there with some numbers on Russ to keep that down and get that bunched back together again. I think a few people maybe just going for the lap time there on the way through to see if they can improve it. It's not going to happen when it's spread out, or when you go for a sprint you don't get fast lap times. Doing that you get the fast lap times going generally when the group works together. And look at this group. The group's gone together and they've got themselves nice and smooth. So let's see if we can get this group back held together and see whether or not we're going to get these riders back in a group. Let's drop in with Ruby. So Ruby just sitting in the back, near the back of the group at the moment. And Ruby Miller, an absolutely class rider, an international podium rider. Knows the being smart. Always works. Ruby just in the group there. So our group's starting to regroup. Let's see what the groups do. This is how the group will need to reform. It becomes a bunch. Looks like this is a nice big bunch here. Barry Kipling, Rob Wimble in this group. It looks like Holmes in here, Edwards is in here, Fraser is in here, Porter in this group, Johnny Two Dogs in here, Rich Orrell, Archibald. This is a nice group working well here with Ruby Miller as well. Let's get the groups back. We've got a number behind. There are, let's have a little bit of a look at this behind. So let's drop to Martin Bolt. Bolt is seeing Bolton up in front and Tarry, so Kaz, Bolton as well. Just going to have a look at the Chris Heseltine James group here. This is 2 or 3. Let's have a little look where they are. They are coming up towards the banner at the moment. Looks like Brian Smithy in another group as well. He's just up onto the drag. So this is the last of the big groups behind. I think the riders in 1s and 2s behind that. So just looking at Crawley and Ted. So this group with Brian Smith. Brian, who has nothing to prove when it comes to racing. So here we go, Bryce Smithy in this, the multi-time national champion. Got some real good talented riders in here. And the yellow beacon just wanting to pull it all down towards him, please guys. So if you do have live on, going to blob up around the yellow. There isn't going to be a signal that we're out and racing until there is a regroup. So guys, you need to pull down. We've got lots of bigger groups just off the back, and it's not going to be a hardship to let these groups behind close these gaps down. And it's just going to take a little bit of being smart up on the front. Looks like lots of people are doing a really good job here. Let's take a little bit of a jump in, and as always with the chain gang, there comes a moment to name and shame the people who go for it too early. So let's jump in with Craig's here. Nice dropping off the pace here. Mr. West dropping off the pace. Mr. Williams doing the same. Nobody hammering too much in this slot. This is what we want. See these groups start to come back together again. We do of course have the ultimate sanction, which is that we just take invites only, which we've again tried to avoid to do, so we're going to try and leave that. Or if there's anybody away from the front when the word go 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 is called, we won't be calling them through as the front of the race. Just keeping a track of that on the way through. Let's see where Ben is. Ben working nicely in this big group here. Looks like Gareth Mason, the Fat Cyclist, in here. The Musette Cafe sat here. They know it's got Pedalling Blackford in here. McLean's in this group. Ruby's in the group. Pritchard's in here. Drury's in this group as well. Jess Williams in the group. Looks like Alan Duncan just tapping those pedals around. We know he's capable of a lot more than that. He's nicely keeping the pace under control. Looks like Ryan Parker, another of our regular riders. Barry Kipling in here. Harris is in here. Looks like Ruby nicely sitting in this group as well. So it looks like Rourke backing right off the pedal. So just having a little look. This is Archibald. I think this is the currently the very front of the main group. Just rolling around nicely here. Nobody going too mad. Looks like Rourke really has backed the pace off here. Johnny saying worst one so far. Not sure that's the case, Johnny. I haven't pulled the plug, mate. That occasionally happens. We've had to do it once so far in the history of the Chain Gang, when it all went a little bit peaked on, but still got a reasonable group in here. Very hard with the bigger groups, but good to see Rourke coming back into the fold here. He backed down to 0.4 watts per kilo to get everybody back in. I think more just not quite realising that he's disappeared off up the road. There is a time when it comes, which we've got to bear in mind, guys. If it's the odd one or two, quite often they cannot see, not just the messages, you can't see anybody around you. We've all had those moments when it all goes a little bit wrong, and generally it happens if you get a dropout and you can't see anybody. You literally cannot see a single soul. You might as well be riding on your own, and there might be magically like thousands of people around you, but it's not that you can't see them. You don't even see the numbers at the sides. You see just you and an empty road. You've no idea how hard it is pushing. Just taking a little look. Looks like Russ just rolling his way up to the front of the group here. Mr. Oxen nicely in the group. Mel in here. So let's take a little bit of a look. Russ just rolling his way up. Looks like he's just going to just try and close down the rider in front, now that we're on a little roll on the flatter section here. And this group's still a substantial group of riders and working well at the moment. Nice regroup there by most of the ride. So let's take a little bit of a whiz through here. So just keeping an eye on Russ. 267 watts, heading just over the 300 watts at the moment. Just looking like it's from front to back of this section. The first 100 or so riders is 10 seconds. Currently have riders in excess of 8 minutes, and that regroup means that we've got to go from Russ up at the front here. So it is go. It looks like Elder just pushing on here. The question is he going to be the rider who's going to be able to take it in to the end? So Jez Elder working on here. Looks like George Radcliffe has really gone. He's been waiting and waiting and waiting. We'll see if Radcliffe has got the power to go clear. I don't think he has it. He pushed up here. Simon Oxenham pushing on. Now we're into the descent. This is where it gets really quick here. So Elder in here, Radcliffe, Oxenham, Alan Duncan in here, Rolex in here, Lake is in here, Lindley's in here, Man's in here. Let's see how this group is holding there. Holding just about together again. Russ pushing on to the front now, so let's see how this goes. We're at 33k, about 10k, 6 miles. This is going to be brutally fast now. We had to hold fire with the go until we had a regroup. That's one of the perils of everybody dancing off the front, and it now means that it's going to go so fast here. Toby Parry holding the pace comfortably here. Eddie Dench is in here, Calcutt's in here, Dobson's in here as well, Atkinson's in here. Everybody's working hard to stay up near the front here. You can just see, I think Tristan's up here. He's jumped onto the back of James Allen's wheel. Tristan, what you doing, mate? You're absolutely flying at the minute. You can tell he's on home ground here. So it looks like our red beacon completed his 2 laps. Martin not able to stay the full distance. So Tristan, now that the go waiting patiently in that group, looks like he's being chased down by Clark here. Jay Cycle Shack coming through to the front. Looks like Clark is sat though on the wheels here. Let's have a little bit of a look. Clark holding on to the wheels. Oxenham's coming across, Radcliffe's coming across. Looks like we've still got Gareth Mason. That's dangerous, pulling him into the finish. He's the man you don't want to bring in. That's definitely not the man you want to tow all the way into the finish, because he's a man you can guarantee is going to give you a hard time. And look at this, it's Gareth Mason rolling off on the front of this group, and that is going to cause problems here, because if he goes into the finish with the group, he's going to stay with them, but they've messed about for so long, it's going to carry a big group. Now the rip up is going to start, and the question is, can Mason stay in there? If he can, he's got to be a hot favourite. It is an uphill sprint though. Let's take a little bit of a look back and let's see who's holding in here. Looks like Ryan Williams making contact with the group for Sigma Sport here. Toby Parry is coming up as well. Dobson is in this group. Blackford just a little bit out of the back of this group. So Blackford in that group behind there in the blue jersey. Second wheel trend of the chasers there at the moment. They are working hard at the moment to close that gap. Here they come. The train is coming. They didn't break the train at the front. And now rolling down this hillside, we're going to go up onto the big climb. The question is, who's got the power to kick away? We're going to stay with Williams at the moment. Williams and Perry probably the 2 big favourites when it comes to this uphill section. Very quick. Oxenham we know is quick. Duncan is quick. But Perry now moving up onto the front as they come down this final section on the descent. So Gareth Mason back on the front again. Russ rolling round in this group. Nobody wants to let this go. Nobody wants to be the one who lets the gap go. Everybody's working hard to stay into this group. Who is going to be able to make it? That's the question. Look at the power-ups going in here. Toby Parry is pushed on here, and there's got to be a response. Clark has gone hard as well. The question is, are they going to be able to stay clear of that chasing group behind? You can see they're just up the road here. They've not got all that far to go, and there's got to be a response by anybody who fancies their chances. Just up the front of the race at the moment, Darryl Clark with 12 watts per kilo, and he is leading this out. Look at the power going in. Darryl, a fast hill climber, good man when it came to the Monsell hill climb. He is the guy who is leading this out. He's still putting out 10 watts per kilo. The question is, can he make it stick? He waited for that attack, that push to go in by Perry, and Clark still continuing to push on. Now we know he's got the power to wait to do the climb. He could break away here. He's got a good gap here on Perry, 13 seconds. He's absolutely nailed this on this climb. He's still pushing along here. Just going to check he's got a power meter on. He has. Now Clark is incredibly light. We'll see how he's moving. He's motoring here, still holding 8. He's pretty quick rider when it comes. He's a fast rider, and done a fair amount of time on Zwift by the look of it as well. He's done well over 5,000 metres, 63,000 metres of climbing, 5,000 metres on Zwift, so knows his way around Zwift certainly with those kind of numbers. Let's take a little bit of a look back. Toby Parry's the chaser behind. Excuse me. So I got sore throat after all that talking at the weekend. So here we go, Toby Parry on his way through, 7 watts per kilo on the run in towards this. It's just starting to level out. Watson chasing hard here. Radcliffe working hard to stay with him at the moment. Williams working hard as well. Clark has got the gap though. He's well down the road. Remember, he was in with that bunch. He was backing off at all the right times. He waited until the go, but now he's struck. He's not put too much work in early. So at the moment it's Clark, followed by Perry, Watson, Radcliffe, Oxenham, Williams, Gareth Mason, the fat cyclist. Rob Copeland, man, who we said was quick on the way up, but look at that. Copeland's at a minute at the moment behind. 1 minute 9. Russ down at 1 minute 10. Doughty is in here as well at 1:11, not holding that front wheel by any stretch of the imagination at the moment. That gap looks to be well and truly done. Let's jump back behind. I think the action is going to be behind. This is between Perry now. This is second and third place, and it looks like Perry and Watson are the two riders, two boys on the concept bikes. Not the lightest bike, but the best all-round overall. And as you can see, Toby Perry from Latova here using the draft to try and stay in the wheels of Watson. So he was very smart there, didn't use it up at the wrong time. They're going to come in to take this left-hand turn. Time is running out though, because Clark is 23 seconds up the road. That time is coming down though by this work being done by Watson and Perry. The two riders together could close this down, but it's not going to be long. We're going to come around the sprint corner. We've got another right-hand turn. This is by no means over. Now here they go. Big kicks coming in from Perry. A big kick behind from Watson and Radcliffe. But Perry is going to close down. We're now at 6 seconds. He can see Clark in front. Clark went early, but did he go too early here? And Toby Perry, the rider who is based over in Spain and has done so much swifting when Spain has been in a real lockdown. Armed police patrolling the streets over in Spain, making sure people obeyed it. Well, it made sure that Perry was sat on Zwift so much now. Watson comes to the front. Here's the gap. They're going to make the catch. So Clark went for the early lorry, got the climber's jersey, a regular hill climb specialist, putting in the kick up there, holding it up there. Has he got enough to kick on the next ascent? And that is going to be the ascent to the finishing line. So it's Clark, Watson, Perry, 19 seconds back to the fat cyclists, Doughty, Copeland, Burke, Radcliffe. Looks like Russ is in that group as well. Lakers is in there. Looks like Williams in that group, but they've missed this front trio who have gone clear. They're going to go under the sprint line, and I don't think it's going to be a major sprint. No, it's not as they go through. It's like PBs for everybody on the way through, PR on the way through. 30-day PR for these riders through here. We've not been on the chain gang on here for such a long time. Last time it was 2 laps rather than 3. As we take a look down, we're now over an hour of riding, and in part because we had to wait because people sped off from the front, and then that stop go doesn't make it easy. Now we're going to take a little bit of a look behind, see if we can see anybody coming on this long section. You can see the beacons round the corner. He is in with that leading group, and the beacon is round the corner. We're going to see what the gap is. I think it's about 250 meters. We're going to drop out on the map. You can see the yellow beacon just coming up, but not able to close that gap down. It's still 22 seconds to the yellow beacon group that is behind. On your map, as you're looking at it now, we're going to turn right. We're going to sprint up the hill. We're going to come round the corner left and a left-hand turn, followed by a sharp right, and then up to the finish line. So the guys are really going to have to push on here. 19 seconds. These three are in the danger zone. They could get caught here. It is by no means over if this group behind can close the gap down. Who's leading the charge? So it's like Rob Copeland leading the charge on the front here, but lots of help. Looks like Mason is in here as well. Burke is in here. Can they get those riders back? You can see them in front of them. We're going to try and just get up in the air a little bit just to try and get a view of where the riders are. Here they come. You can just see the three in front. That gap's coming down. It's at 12 seconds now. Right hand turn to come. Climb up here. Only a little climb though. It's about 5-6% at the moment. It looks like James Allen trying to bridge across towards them at the moment. Or is it Lakers who's gone? Lakers has gone here to try and bridge the gap across. Radcliffe is up the road as well. They're all trying to push on to get this gap down to bring them back. But they're going to have to work hard here. Radcliffe's going to get passed by Copeland now. Now, sharp right-hand turn. We go right, we go left, then we go straight up the street in front. You can actually see where the course comes in front. Russ is now hovering around here. Russ, of course, riding around this on a Brompton as part of the coverage when the World Champs came to Yorkshire. This group are closing, and they're closing down on our three leaders. One man went. He went too early, got the climb. And it may well be that that's sort of what the hill climb specialist was after. He wanted that spotted jersey, the polka dot jersey. This group are working hard to get that gap down. Russ up here now with 8.8 watts per kilo kicking on. Copeland comes on to his wheel and they're in sight. This is the final burn up though. The gantry is going to come into sight very, very soon. Who has got the pace here? Let's jump in with Perry. He's our leader at the moment. He's gone for it here. He's got the riders behind there. Coming quick. Can he hold them off? Let's take a quick look up the road for the gantry. Oh, you could just see it. It's just in sight. Is he going to be able to hold off the chasers behind? They're working hard now. Who's got the power to close the gap? Can anybody get the gap down from Perry? It's going to be tight. I think he's going to make it here. Perry working hard. They're not getting the gap down. Watson can't do it. There's a massive kick coming from Copeland at 14 watts per kilo. But Perry has this nailed here. He's going to come in and across the line. So at the end of that, it's Toby Perry of Latova just beating Rob Copeland, who timed his run just too late there. Behind him then comes Watson, then Radcliffe. Dowtry comes through with Oxenham. Then it's going to be Clark coming through with Winfield Clark, of course, who took that climb. Ryan Williams. Lakers is in there. Burke's in there as well. I'm just going to take a look here. Russ coming in with Gareth Mason, the two riders on the way in. So you can just see pushing on and through. Just looks like everybody wants to get a fast time into the line. We're going to drop back to our next riders. This is James Allen. Apologies, James, I had you right up at the front there. Expectation, mate. Clearly not to be your day, but James Allen now. Our next rider heading in to the gantry. Behind him is Atkinson. And Atkinson from the Cryogen team being distance here just by Allen on his way through in the gantry. He goes as Atkinson, Rollitt, West come through. I think Alan Duncan coming through just behind them, as well as Linley coming in and through. Dench coming through, George Cooper, Tristan. Looks like Manaki in that group. Elder and Skelton just on the way in towards like Skelton coming through here. Then it's going to be Evans coming through. So Evans goes underneath now. Let's drop back to Phil OZK and Aylesbury. So Aylesbury's our next rider on the way in. Good move there. So it's Aylesbury on his way in. He's going to come in front of OZK. So you can just see Aylesbury on his way through. Then it's going to be Phil OZK, another of our regular riders. He's got company though. And look at this. Mel Blackford goes through and rolls him on the line there. Never give up, never take up the pressure off those pedals. Then it's going to be Raccoon, followed by Davenport on the way through. Pritchard coming through with Mann and Conley. Kooslug's coming through. Thornley, Hind, Osman, Watson, Peacock on a kick into the line here. This is another big kick here. Peacock's going to take this, I think, just about from Selling through he goes. Yeah, so from Selling, Pritchard comes through. Hawkins in this group. Crean and Johnny Two Dogs. Altaf Hussein in this group. And I think Jess Evans coming through there. Yep, Jess coming through the line. A great ride by Jess Evans as she worked her way in and through. And I think the first other one, but very difficult. We are working on a way to be able to tell where everybody is, but it's difficult to do without turning it into a full-on race, and that's the last thing we want to do. So McPhee now on his way into line, just behind Gail Phillips, who's just up the road. So McPhee comes through just in front of Archibald, who hits the line in front of Ryan Finn. Ian Taylor from 1080, one of the key men. Tim Howcroft, Drury's in there, Sterling Land's in there, Edwards is in there as well on the chase. He's going to put in a good kick here. He's got company behind. Let's see how close he can get it. Edwards is going to put in some big watts here. 9 watts per kilo, 441 watts we saw on his way through. Opening up the gap on the guys behind. Led through by the guys from the Musette Cafe here. Doing a great job. I've got Rourke and Porter for company. Looks like Paul Dickinson, coming in. Then TW and Harper on the way in. Mr. Shimwell on his way in here. And looks like he's going to give it a little bit of a final kick in towards the line here. So Shimwell goes underneath just in front of Barry Kipling. Looks like Gardner leading in this next group in towards the line. So it's going to be Gardner coming through. Then Finney, Fraser, Sharp going through. Falting's leading the charge behind there. He's got company not too far behind. Looks like it's Luby, another of our early regulars, who's chasing hard behind. But I don't think it's going to close down Fulton as they come towards the line. So it is going to be Fulton who comes through the line next. You can just see taking the whatsoever. Then it is Luby who comes through. They're going to be chased into the line here. This is Rob Wimble coming up the climb here, working hard, and got himself to line 3 watts per kilo, 3.2, 3.5 as he comes in underneath the gantry there. He's in front of Sutcliffe, who's going to be our next rider, the out of the saddle rider, just being distance towards the end there. So Sutcliffe are now pushing towards the line. The question is, has he done enough? We've just seen a big kick here coming from Clay. Clay's going to come around the side here. He's the one I don't always manage to get on the way through, so I'm going to just jump in with Clay. A response though coming from Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe's not having any of this. Look at this. This is going to be tight here, but Sutcliffe has responded to this. He goes underneath. He takes the victory in that little 2-up sprint there from Clay. Behind then it's going to be Dunn who's going to come through. He's in front of Andy Bishop. Bish, one of our fast riders today, deciding to just back off the pace. He comes through in front of Neil. So it's going to be Neil on next rider into the line here and in towards the gantry he goes. So Neil coming through just in front of Colin Bell from Cycleways. So it's going to be Ruby Miller. Ruby on the way in and through the line here, kicking out the 100 watts, just knocking it down as she comes through with about K left to go. So just keeping an eye out for Wright. I think Wright is just through the line with Lone Rider approaching it here. So Lone Rider's the next rider on the way in and through the screen, working really hard. And today, not to be the day, right at the front. Behind then, Hayward is our next rider on the course. Loads of people scattered all over the course today, as you would expect on a brutal Tuesday. Donny Chain Gang brought to you on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel. Don't forget, of course, Downhill Cycling, all of the guys supporting the Chain Gang, providing help and assistance. And of course, a massive thank you to everybody who has donated on the way through. It is going to allow us to do a few more things that we've wanted to do. We've got a few experimental things we want to do with Zwift, as well as, of course, trying to bring you as much of the coverage as we can. We're not going to go out and, for example, stream it over a whole load of platforms just yet. And that's quite simply because we want to make sure that the tech works. We've got a couple of test things that we're going to be doing and going out on a separate channel just to make sure. So Hayward, the next rider through, coming through just in front of Crawley. Then it's going to be Dowtree coming through from out of the saddle here. So the outside rider coming through just in front. I think it's going to be a group behind. This is going to be Maddie Smith and Andy Verrill. And Smith not responding to this. Maddie not showing her usual ferocious trademark kick to get back onto the wheels. So Smith in the middle of this group. So it's going to be Andy Verrill, Maddie Smith, and I think it's going to be Gordon Kemp on the way through here. And look at this. It looks like they don't want to get pipped here. So Andy Verrill just kept pushing on there as they came in and through. Gordon Kemp coming through. Still plenty of people around these riders. And I think our next rider towards the line is going to be Whitehead. Here he comes. So it is going to be a Whitehead, Andrew Whitehead coming through and underneath the gantry. And finishing the ride with a warm down as always on the Donny Chain Gang. Next up will be Gary from the Muscle Mechanic. I think there's a few sore legs that would need his tender ministrations at the end of today's ride. And Gary now on his way to the line, the finish line in Harrogate here for the 2019 Road World Championships. Doing the business there. So Rodney moving up now and going to be on his way towards the line. Let's see if he can hold position. I think that's going to be the case. Mr. Whitehead, we don't believe you when you said you weren't trying. We never do. Russ tells me that every week, and then he gives it big beans and rips it all up. So next in is going to be Sir Rodney in through the line. Well done, sir. Which means we're going to drop back a little bit further to our next riders out on horse. This is going to be Vin Donoghue. We've got Stuart Bolton, Kaz Tarry, and the Cannonball as well, I think, out on circuit. So Kaz on the way up the climb, Cannonball just at the base of that climb. So I think it's going to be Vin who we're going to drop in with first of all. So whilst we watch Finn on his way into the line, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's ridden Please remember, guys, if you're watching this back later on, make sure you turn your message board on as well, because if Russ is not able to get the message out there, it's often coming through the message board and it'll come up on the screens to pull it back. 100 riders limit, which is the game limit of Zwift. That means that we can't see everybody at the same time. So if you're on the front and there's 200 riders, you're only going to see the 100 nearest riders to you. Somebody could be 10 minutes back, half a lap down. You're not going to know, and the aim of the chain gang is to keep it together. Only goes as a race when it's go, 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 and that basically means that's why we see the increase. It's dead simple. Chain gangs work because you have a steady building, you build up and up and up and up, and pace picks up and up and up. If you don't understand what I mean, look at the description when you join the ride. It's on there, guys. It's dead easy. 2.5 watts per kilo start. 2.5. Put the number in your head. Stick a sticker on your screen. Get a post-it note. Put it on your bars. Do a pro little thing and stick it on your stem. Don't really care how you do it. Make sure you get that 2.5 dialed in so that we can get the riders around, improve everybody's FTP. We know it becomes a rip-up. That's the whole point of it, is that we rip it up. But it needs to stay controlled at the start because that gets the most people in and through in one go. So please, guys, remember, keep it nice and smooth. Let's make sure that we get all of our riders in through the finish and give everybody a good ride. And you're going to get that workout because, believe me, once the pros start coming back on, which we are expecting as the road season comes to an end, the one thing we'll guarantee is that unless you should have been a pro or you are a pro, you ain't going to be at the front. So make sure that you look after the rest of the riders. We're going to just drop back in with our riders, and I think at the moment it is Mr. Donahue who is out on the course, so let's just drop back in. Here we go. So it is Vin who is on his way around from the Barnsley Road Club. We'll have a closer look on his way through. So here we go, the Mr. Donahue now working his way through. Our camera just tucked in behind the buildings. One of the amazing things with Zwift is our drone cam never crashes. It can spin around and do all sorts of tricks. We can go through buildings with it, but it doesn't break. So, Vin Donahue from the Barnsley Road Club here at just under 41 kilometres. He's got a sharp left turn to do any second now, and then he's going to be heading around. So around that left-hand turn he goes here in the heart of Harrogate. He's going to be taking the right-hand turn. This is the last sharp turn, and then he's going to be heading up the climb for the final time up towards the banner of the 2019 UCI World's Road Championships. Lots more courses to come. Make sure you get onto the Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you tell your friends about it and give an idea of just what we're all about and just how the chain gang works, and get them to sign up onto the links. So Donahue now onto the climb. Let's take a little bit of a look back. Looks like Stu Bolton on his way in that run down in towards the final loop. Looks like Kaz just making a way along towards the sprint line. The cannonball on the climb, so not too far to go. Let's drop in with Vin as he lines himself up for that gantry. So here he comes. He's over the steep section of the climb and now kicking out 190, 200 watts. He's pushing on here at 2.3 watts per kilo on his way into towards the line. That's a very tough day out at the office for a lot of people on the down in cycling Donny chain gang. We're just taking a quick zoom in. So Donahue now coming past that starting point. That's the entrance where our riders join, just coming up across on the stray. So past the start gates goes Donahue, and he's now into the last 100 metres or so as he comes in towards the line, using that aero boost as he comes in underneath the gantry. And Donahue finishing his ride with a warm down, as we always get. Next up is going to be Stuart Bolton. So Stuart's currently kicking out 3.1 watts per kilo on his way through, and now just on that nice little bit of a descent as you roll your way down in towards the middle of town. It's going to take a slight right in a moment, 3%, and this is where we just drop away. Our drone cam piloted by Matt. Don't ever let me loose with a real drone. It's dangerous, I'll tell you. I think it's a zoom one that we can zoom in and out and fly like we can on Zwift. It's very, very bad for the environment because keep crashing them. So our next rider on his way in is Stuart Bolton from Chefrec CC. Chefrec, of course, one of our real keen clubs around the Sheffield area. And Stuart Bolton still pedalling nice and smoothly. Nice pedal rest, sitting very comfortably at 88, 89 revs per minute as he comes down around there. Going to be lining himself up with the corner in a second. So here we go on his way into that right hand turn. I'm going to be lining up for the finish very shortly. Around the corner we go, and now onto the steeper section of the climb, and up at 8%, and you can just see that biting in 4.5 watts per kilo at the moment for Stuart Bolton. You can just see if we go across, it's something we can't do necessarily all the time, is to zoom in and give you a good indication of just how steep this is. I've ridden this road lots in real life. I absolutely hate it with a passion. It is a horribly nasty climb. It comes out of nowhere, you get no run into it, and then once you get up it drags over the top as well. So you come up, there's a false flat, it comes down to about 1% or so, and then you've got this little kicker as you come back up onto the straight, and that is really hard. But at the moment Stuart Bolton kicking out the watts here, going up to about 4.5 on the steep section there, and now working hard on the way in towards the line for the Chefrec team. So up the climb he goes, in with insight of the gantry in those final few meters now. As heading in towards the line comes Stuart Bolton from Chefrec CC. It's going to be right done, a warm down to do. Only about a K on the way through, then it's going to be job done. Great riding there by Bolton after having mechanical issues out on the way round the course. Next rider out is going to be Kaz. Kaz, one of our new riders to the chain gang. Not a new rider to Zwift either, or incredibly lucky. The average time to go up, or number of times to go up the Alpe d'Huez to get the wheels that Kaz has on a bike here. Let's have a little bit of a zoom in and show you Kaz's bike wheels here. They are Melenstein lightweights. They are the lightest, fastest set of wheels on a climbing course on Zwift. It's that simple. Out playing the game, these are the fastest set of wheels. Can you buy them? The answer is no. You have to win them. And to do that, you have to ride up the Alpe d'Huez. Now, it's on a roulette wheel, and it isn't straightforward, but essentially you can get them on your first time up. Very rare. Don't know anybody who's actually managed it first time. I think the least I know is 5 goes. If you've got them in less than 5, let me know. 13 is the average. Some people have been up there 30 times and not got them. I got mine on about the 9th or 10th time up there, I think, from memory. Though I must admit I wasn't counting, because that would have been too depressing every time I went around the top turn and didn't get them. But the lightweights, the lightest wheels to go on the climb. They have good rolling characteristics, and being used here by Kaz on the climb. Kaz kicking out 2.6 watts per kilo on this climb. Around 62 revs per minute. 9% section of the climb. It really is the hardest part. As I said earlier, a really nasty bit of climbing. So Kaz clearly been up the Alps enough, the Alpe d'Huez enough times to go up onto the climb. And of course, the Alpe d'Huez only unlocked after you've been on Zwift for a proportion of time, a fair proportion of time. So at the moment, Kaz now riding the Donny chain gang, and definitely seeing an improvement every time. I'm going to see if Kaz holds on a little longer, and no doubt we'll get a group around. London is a good one for grouping up, which is Thursday, so hopefully Kaz is going to be back in action on Thursday with the chain gang to take part when we go around the Greater London circuit. It's a good one to group up on. It's where we get lots of riders coming together, and really is a feel-good circuit, that is for sure. So Kaz Tarry from Sitwell CC now on the way in towards the finish line here on the Donny Chain Gang, live on Downing Cycling YouTube channel. The finish line of the 2019 UCI Road World Championships awaits, and Kaz now on her way into the finishing line, going to come underneath the gantry, casually taking a drink from the bottle. And under the gantry she goes. So Kaz putting in another great ride here once again, which leaves us with the Cannonball, which is currently hurtling down the section here, 45 kilometers per hour. And the Cannonball now coming in nice and smoothly. So whilst Cannonball's on the way in, we are going to just say a big thanks to all of the guys who support Russ on the way through, enabling Russ to have the time to do this. A big thank you to the guys who have given us things, giveaways as well. So the Bad Company Brewing Company, the brewing and distilling company based up at Tockwith, massive thanks to them. Lots of giveaways going out to riders. Halo have done giveaways as well. Massive thank you to them. Big thank you to 1080 who provided us with Oakley August t-shirts, caps, shades going out as you'd expect for an Oakley giveaway from the guys at 1080. Ian Taylor and the team are there. They're supporting the Chain Gang. They're giving you giveaways. That's what we want to see. I get the odd t-shirts to wear on the Chain Gang. More importantly, you get the t-shirts out there. You get lots and lots of them. In fact, I don't quite know where we managed to find them all because we gave away so many. Massive thank you to Muck Off. We're giving away Muck Off giveaways as well. OTE have given us giveaways to give away. We've got all that stuff out to you as well. Lots more still to come. There are quite a lot more things in the pipeline in terms of giveaways. Certainly not going to happen on a night where the Chain Gang destroys itself in the first few meters, that is for sure. But within the limits of the game, guys, please try and keep it together before we say go, 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 go. Russ trying to do it by feel isn't, his job's definitely not made any easier by the dropouts if you don't get a vision. One of the key tips is to plug your computer, whatever it is you're running, directly into your router. If that's not possible, get an extender and plug it directly into the extender. The power of the extender is much better. Power, much better range, and much better speed and bandwidth. You get more through the pipeline into the computer and back out again, which means that the game will operate easier. So that's always worth checking and always worth doing. If you don't manage to fix it with that, don't forget, get on the message board on Facebook. Have a chat with the guys on there. There's loads of great information. People have had every setup known to under the sun pretty much between them. So whether you're running the most obscure TV, phone, computer, cable patched together thing, or you're in a really simple one unit setup, the guys have done it. Have a chat. They're always full of suggestions out there. Not all of them necessarily helpful, but that's the way of the internet. So Cannonball now just coming to our left-hand turn, going to be making the way around the left turn in towards the finish here on the Donny Chain Gang on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch, it's Russ at downhillcycling.co.uk or myself, Matt at fullspeedevents.com. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook and pretty much all the way around. Matt Fixer Payne, and Russ is often in as Fonzie, but let's face it, Russ is that famous, you'll find him easily enough. So we're going to drop in with our last rider to take us out tonight on the Donny Chain Gang. A massive thank you for watching. Let's watch our last rider home. So here we go, final climb, final ascent. On the way up over the climb comes the Cannonball. You just see the road stretching out behind the middle of Harrogate. The World Championship course now coming to an end, and it is the Cannonball approaching the line at 26 kilometers an hour, still keeping the heart rate steady, nice and steady around about the 140 beat per minute mark, 2.5 watts per kilo, and the Cannonball now can see the line. The deep rims there, big advantage on the way down. The hills on this course do make it harder, so it's all about picking the right wheels. If in doubt, get yourselves onto VeloViewer, the amazing guys at VeloViewer with some great graphics. Swift Insider with previews of the course so you know what's coming. And don't forget, of course, you can always make sure that you go into your garage or message someone in the group on the Facebook page. You can message Russ or I as well. So as the Cannonball comes across the line to round out another Donny Chain Gang, big thank you to everybody. Don't forget, we will be coming back on Thursday. We're on Greater London Flat. The Cannonball's going to warm down. I'm going to go finish the rest of my Grand Tour coffee. From me, Matt Payne, and from everybody on the Chain Gang, thanks for riding, thanks for watching. We'll see you on Thursday.